Careful what you say or you'll get convicted.
Yes. Drink to that.
Evening, everybody. Tim, Kenny, how are you?
Good. Good. How are you, sir?
Doing good. Doing good.
Got a message for everyone? Yes. Let's get hammered.
Let's get hammered. Long week for you, Kenny?
Oh, every week is a long week.
Well, then let's have some fun tonight.
Okay.
So welcome everybody to another fun night with the Three Tortured Souls. So let's see who is in the chat room listening to the show so far. Hi, Donna. Hey, Bob, Carol, John, Ryan. How's everybody doing tonight? Thanks for joining us. Tonight's topic is we are going to talk about the recent UFO report. The actual official title of the report is the Preliminary Assessment of the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena. And this was released on June 25th, 2021. So we'll go through it, and it's only, let's see, even with the appendix, let's see, how many whopping pages was this that we waited so long for? 9.
9, yep.
9 long pages. So I think I wrote almost as many notes as there might be words in this report when I was going through it. Hey, JD, how you doing? Good to see you. Yeah, so I'm going to start out with a little bit of background, and then I'll open it up to you guys for some opening comments. Then I thought what we'd do is we just kind of work our way through the report. The way I did it is I kind of just took notes on each section. You know, I circled certain words, phrases, paragraphs, and made some comments on it. And then maybe we can kind of go back and forth and talk about a bit of what we thought of it and our initial thoughts and comments on it, and then summarize at the end. And I mean, really for me, after I did all my note taking and all my commentary on the actual report, I ended up with like 11 takeaways, and I'm like, that's what it came down to. So I had 11 takeaways on 9 pages. So I think I summarized.
I like how we do similar things, like highlighting notes.
There's notes. I mean, look at this first page. I mean, gee,
wow.
Christmas.
Well, you did a lot more.
Donna, yes, no government report is 9 pages. That's because there's a classified annex to part of it that I'm sure we can talk about, that a lot of people are saying, well, they didn't disclose everything. So there's obviously something they're holding back.
Obviously.
So, all right, I'm going to talk a little bit about the background of how this all got started. In 2017, there's this new organization. It's called To the Stars. And if you look at their website, it's actually not bad. They do have some fairly decent people that are part of this organization, and they're trying to strive both for information, science, and then entertainment value. So what they're trying to do is find good quality information and bring it to light through commercialization, which isn't bad. You got to fund your organization, so that's fine. You can do that. So what happened with them is 2017, To the Stars made the Pentagon UFO videos available to the public through the New York Times. So those videos were released, and the U.S. military basically came forward and confirmed them and said, yes, those are videos from the U.S. military. We confirm those are videos from the U.S. military. And that was what sort of set things off, kind of. And then a series of articles, they found out that there was this program that was going on from 2007 to 2012, and this was found out by the New York Times and Politico, that confirmed that there was an advanced aerospace threat identification program within the Department of Defense in the tune of funding of $22 million. And they were to look at, UFOs. You're going to find that in this report, they call them unidentified aerial phenomena. So they're not really calling them UFOs. So those two words you could use interchangeably as we talk about this tonight. So that happened in 2007 to 2012. The Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, then it ran into the different program that became, there's so many of these different acronyms. The Department of Defense United Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force. And this was housed in the Office of Naval Intelligence. So between those stories in the New York Times, Politico, the videos that were released, this got people in Congress saying, hey, what's going on? There must be something going on out there. There was calls for action. There's calls for reports. So then members of Congress acted, and they basically said, as part of the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, the Consolidated Appropriations Act, which was the $2.3 trillion bill, which was signed into law December 27th, 2020, that they wanted specific information about what these unidentified aerial phenomena were. And I'll just read the first paragraph of the scope of the report. This preliminary report is provided by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence in response to the previous provision in the Senate Report 116-233 accompanying the Intelligence Authorization Act for fiscal year 2021 that the DNI, Director of National Intelligence, in consultation with the Secretary of Defense, is to submit an intelligence assessment of the threat posed by unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP, and the progress the Department of Defense Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force has made in understanding the threat. So that's kind of the background and history of how this sort of came to be. I mean, there's a lot more to it, but that's just a real quick overview of it. And as you might remember, the government looking into UFOs and reports goes way back. Project Sign in 1947, Project Grudge in 48, Project Blue Book went on from 1952 to 1969. Then the Condon Report, which was actually, the real title was Scientific Study of Unidentified Flying Objects, came out in 1968. So this isn't something new. This has happened before. So a little bit of history there, a little bit of background, and that's how I'm going to open up before we start diving more into what's in this report. So what do you guys got just as some opening quick thoughts?
About the same as you, Dave.
All right.
Not as detailed, though. That was really good. I can't follow that at all. I had good time like doing what you guys did. Looking it up, highlighting a lot of stuff, looking at. Let me turn down my. I think that's me.
Yeah, an echo. I hear an echo. I hear an echo from me too. Must be StreamYard.
Well, just highlighting stuff and looking up acronyms. Really.
Yeah, any good government report is not short on acronyms.
Yeah.
And they actually have part of the report, part of the 9 pages, there's at least a third of a page that tells you what the acronyms are and gives you definitions of what everything is. So it is a fairly good government report. I did laugh that it is only 9 pages. That is kind of funny because it seems awfully short for a government report. To me, it reminds me if somebody woke up that day and said, "Oh shit, that's due tomorrow. I better put something
Yep.
together."
Yep.
So, anyway, Kenny, what do you got for?
Well, I mean, I looked into this a little bit, and I mean, I don't the whole organization of To the Stars. Unfortunately, I don't see it as something credible with their front man of Tom DeLonge. I just don't. I can't take him seriously. I've seen some of the stuff that he's done, and it just makes me cringe. I don't see much coming from them in the way of actual science. I see a lot of entertainment, and it looks more like an entertainment company than a hard science company. So I have issues with that. But when it comes to this report, I mean, it's 9 pages. It didn't say shit. Like, basically, my number one takeaway is keep funding us. That's what I saw. And there were several instances where I was like, there it is. there's that pledge, that pitch to, hey, we got to keep funding this because we have to do more. So I really didn't have that big explosion because this was built up. This was really the hype behind this was like huge.
But the government didn't build it up. The people that were putting the report together did not build it up.
Right. And I agree with you.
It was everybody else that built it up.
It was people that were like, well, we're finally going to get the clarification. We're going to get the evidence that we need. They're going to finally come out and say, yes, aliens exist. And like, it was like no big deal. I read it and I was like, that's it. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is nothing. This is dumb.
Yeah.
I didn't. It was very, very anticlimactic. It was a waste of time. I would have rather sat in a dentist office for an hour rather than read this. So
not even close.
So that's my opening statement, and then that's pretty much it. We can go from there.
Okay. Dave, were you as angry as I was when you read how long they actually been collecting the data? Yeah, we'll get to that. 9 pages. That's just the table of contents for a government report. Yes, normally. But one thing I will say to Kenny, yes, I agree with the funding thing. I thought that was funny, and that was one of the things I noted. There it is. Always a good government agency and opportunity is you ask for more money. I used to work for state government, and believe me, you don't ever let any good crisis go to waste, and you always ask for more money.
Right.
And the other thing you always do is you spend all of your money at the end of the year. You use it or lose it. So they don't look at you and go, oh, you didn't need all that money. We're going to keep some of it. So
I want to put good when you hit spin down, because
I want to just make a disclaimer
anything
to everybody that we're having thunderstorms here, so I might disappear if the power goes out, and don't worry, I'm still alive.
It's the government or aliens trying to silence him. It's obviously
Men in Black, obviously.
Yes, they're coming for Kenny.
They're coming because I made fun of their team leader.
Let's see, Carol, they made only some videos, not all, right? I don't know. They released them.
They released videos. They didn't.
The government has supposedly, from what I've read and heard, they've released not all of them. Some of them have still remained classified for whatever reason, which means they could be looking at them considering they might be some sort of national security threat they're trying to evaluate, but nobody knows.
Right.
All right, let's see. Any other questions or comments before we jump into this? Oh, let's see. Bob really likes Tim's background. Yes.
For reference, that is a 1906 artist's renditioning of the War of the Worlds.
How's that coffee?
It's very strong, actually. I got a new bottle, so I didn't have to think I had to stretch it out. So There's a lot in there.
That's the opening phase when you're like, oh, I got a whole bottle. Yeah,
That's what I did. I was like, I got a whole bottle. This is great. Now
Okay.
it burns my lips.
One more from Bob, but why was it only 9 pages? How long have they been truly collecting the data? 2 years, 2 freaking years. They finally started collecting real data in 2019. Yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit as we get through here. I had those comments too. They collected, actually this report covers data from November 2004 to March 2021. But they focused on the last 2 years because I believe it was due to the way they actually were able to where was it? Oh yeah, the last 2 years as the new reporting mechanism became better known to the military aviation community, which I think is actually a positive thing. If you have a way to collect information and you have a specific way to collect it and you're looking for certain things that makes the collection uniform, that's actually a good thing. So that's actually one of the positive things I pulled out of the report. So
I think that comment that it's pretty good. I don't know what I was going for there, but it sparked something in my head that it talks about covering data, but this report is a broad generalization of what they plan on doing with data. It doesn't actually go in, except for one case. They don't go into specifics. They don't go into actual cases. They don't cover cases. They're just telling you, hey, this is like what we're collecting, what we plan on collecting. This is what we plan on doing, and this is what we need.
Yeah, I don't think they had a lot of time because remember the law, the Consolidated Appropriations Act was signed into law December 27th, 2020. This came out June 25th, 2021.
Right. I'm just trying to put in perspective here that even though it alludes to it in this, like one of I forget exactly what line, but it kind of makes it sound like we're going to read about case reports in this, but we don't get any case reports except for one balloon.
One balloon.
That's it. You know, they don't actually.
I wonder if they stole your what you found.
I was thinking about that, like the one that I wrote about. Dave, I just noticed your hat, dude. I just saw it. I was like, oh shit! All right, I like it. Nice.
From the scope and the assumptions, the first page after the title page. Nice alien. It says it's for policymakers. Right. So you got to remember and keep this in mind as we go through this. This is what the scope of the report is. So it provides, the first notes I have, 1, an overview of the challenges in characterizing the threat of unidentified aerial phenomena. And 2, develop processes, policies, technologies, and training for the U.S. military and the U.S. government. So it's not to report every case because I think they knew we don't have a standardized way of collecting this. We don't have data collection systems. I think they probably even knew we don't even have a standard form to collect this information. And it's certainly not standardized across all military branches.
Yeah, but it looks like they're starting to move towards that with the 2019 naval reporting. So I think they're going. I want to point out, though, Dave, that you and I are sometimes very much alike. So I actually underlined all the words in that paragraph that you spoke, like skipping.
Oh, look at that! Those two are
exact words.
Yeah, there we go.
And I'm reading it, going like, well, yeah, I underlined like overview of the challenges. Like skipping for policymakers, but you just read off, and I'm like, oh shit, that's freaky. but yeah, I mean, they're in the last 2 years, 2019, I think it says they started standardized reporting. In March 2019, the Navy established a standardized reporting that has been adopted by the U.S. Air Force in November of 2020. So they're starting to, which is a cool thing. I do think that's a cool thing, as long as you have standardized and it evolves over time as more data comes in. So yeah, that was my thoughts. I just want to interject that. I was just freaking out because you read off what I was reading, which is really freaky.
And it specifically states that data continues to be collected and analyzed. So this is not over. This is pretty much to me, it's an outline of kind of here's where we're at and here's where we need to go and what we're going to continue doing.
Like almost like a business model.
It's a business plan.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I see. That's what was disappointing to me, because I was really looking forward to like case studies or something, and I was like, all right, this is a business plan.
Well, one out of the 144 reports, they decided it was a balloon. All the other ones, which is interesting, they can't. They're being honest. They're saying we don't know.
Right.
We don't know what it is.
All
right, Tim, you got anything for the scope and assumptions before we move on to and we can do the executive summary and then dive into some of the more details.
No, you guys did it. I have one part of the second paragraph covered, but you guys went over top of that as well. Sorry, I got to fly.
The only other thing I wanted to bring up then was just the last line, just talking about assumptions, and they do include the assumptions here, and that various forms of sensors that register UAP generally operate correctly and capture enough real data to allow initial assessments, but some UAP may be attributable to sensor anomalies. So I like that they're acknowledging that. But again, it's kind of general. It's saying, yeah, most of the time we can trust it, but sometimes we can't. But there's no like I guess further clarification on how many cases there might be errors, or anomalies that were attributed to sensor anomalies rather than something real. But all right, that's all I got for that.
Okay, moving on. Executive summary, page 3. Basically, my first comment that I wrote in here, can't conclude when they said the limited amount of high quality reporting, limited amount with my emphasis on UAP hampers our ability to draw firm conclusions about the nature or intent of UAP. So basically, they're saying we don't have enough high quality reporting, which means that it's either not good reporting or, as we've already talked about, they don't have a standardized way to collect the information. You got to have a reporting system in place and a way to capture that information uniformly across the board. Otherwise, this guy says he saw this guy mentioned something else, and you look at it and go, okay, well, what are we going to make of that? So at least they recognize that. So I thought that was pretty good. The second thing that I noted on this, and then I'll stop for you two to comment before we move on. I thought this was interesting. Most of the UAP reported probably do represent physical objects, given that the majority of the UAP were registered across multiple sensors to include radar, infrared, electro-optical, weapon seekers, and visual observation. So I thought that was kind of interesting because a lot of, I don't know how familiar people are with the Condon report and some of the case files there. A lot of it was, atmospheric conditions and other atmospheric anomalies and things like that. It's interesting that they point out that they do represent physical objects because they're getting multiple hits on multiple sensors. And to me, as a American citizen, and you're talking the military, I truly hope that the weapon seeking systems are accurate and they're getting real hits on those. So if they're pointing, they're getting ready to point and shoot, they have a lock on something that at least is a physical object. Yeah.
And I would comment on that particular paragraph. I mean, that interested me too. I was like, all right, so they're pretty sure that it's a physical object, but yeah, I guess it's still generalized for me. Like, yeah, all right, they say they were registered across multiple sensors. They're not telling you like 2 out of the, like, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So is it 2 out of 5, 3 out of 5 of these? There's no clarification of that. So, I mean, I wouldn't venture to say that every report they're talking about had all 5.
They actually later on they make that comment. They say that most UAP represent physical objects. 80 out of the 144 reports registered on multiple sensors.
Multiple, yeah, but that's exactly what I was saying. Like, is it 2 of the 5 or 3 out of 5? We don't know.
Yeah, that we don't know.
Yeah, but that's where I was going with it. Like, we don't know how many sensors, because I mean, could it be? You see it on radar and infrared, or you see it on just the optical and infrared. I mean, yeah, if there's a far off aircraft that's flying away from you and you're just seeing the engines, yes. I mean, in infrared, you're going to see just a blob. Tic Tac video. And then when you switch to optical, you're going to see pretty much a blob, because you're looking at the exhaust. You're not going to see any detail. So, I mean, again, I know I'm criticizing it, but I also understand this is a very general report for policymakers, not a case study on everything that's happening and not bringing details to us. So I understand that, before anyone yells at me.
All right. What do you got, Tim?
Well, I have highlighted the same thing you guys did. I also pointed out at the bottom of that, I love the phrase, some of these steps are resource intensive and would require additional investment. I think that's another nice little, yeah.
Wait, there it is.
Oh, wait,
Right.
Yep.
Right there.
Yeah, see, I think I had a comment about military wants more money.
Yeah, I think like after you guys do it, I'm like, yeah, well, that's pretty much it. I do have something different that was kind of funny to me. If I can share, can I share my screen?
Yeah, sure.
Am I allowed to? Let me see. I love. Oh, right here.
Cool.
I love that the military has the same end category like I have for my email.
Other.
It's like it's extremely professional, scientific, professional, and other. I was like, that looks like mine.
Everybody has to have the other bin, Tim.
Yep.
Everybody
like the
does.
door in the kitchen.
The junk drawer. Yes, absolutely.
So that next thing I'm going to point out, I'm going to run through this, but a bunch of paragraphs you see words like could be, require additional rigorous analysis, probably. Then they have the 5 categories with the other. And then if you look at the second to last paragraph on page 3, I found this interesting. The UAP clearly, now that's a definitive term for the military, clearly pose a safety of flight issue and may pose a challenge to U.S. national security. So they obviously still feel that it clearly poses a flight issue.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about that. I'm writing notes as we're going through it, because I do see potential safety issues when you have either commercial or military aircraft that are going, that are being monitored by their different, by the government and or air traffic control, FAA, stuff like that. They're monitoring it, but you have other obstacles that are not accounted for. Like, just 2 that I can think of is drones. I mean, even though, yes, most drone owners have to be licensed especially when they're doing commercial work, they have to be licensed, but that doesn't mean they are. And then 2, like drug runners that are flying small planes, trying to get drugs across the border and stuff like that. They're not going to be filing a report. There's going to be aircraft in the air that are not accounted for. So I can definitely see a safety issue, and I understand where they're coming from this. But when it goes on to talk about it represents a national security challenge if they are foreign adversary collection platforms or provide, they need to develop breakthrough or disruptive technology. This is all, again, it comes back to we need more money. And I get it. But that's a good reason. I like that reason better than the other reasons that we've been talking about so far.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're going to task us with looking into something without additional funding, that's not going to happen.
Right.
Tim, anything else?
That's it.
All right. The last one I want to comment on here. The second to last sentence on this page goes on, and then sophisticated analysis of UAP that is likely to deepen our understanding, which is kind of interesting. That's kind of where, and then it says some of these steps are resource intensive, of course, and would require additional investment. Yes, they want more money, but would likely deepen our understanding. That actually contrasts the Condon report, where they basically said UFOs, there's really no reason to study them more. So this is a little different than what they concluded. And now the Condon report, I think they came along and they really said you would gain little scientific value of further study of UFOs. But this, I'm curious as if they meant understanding the phenomena, scientific understanding, or understanding the military or national security threat. But they clearly feel that it needs more understanding, which I would think that would be the case when you can only clearly identify 1 out of 144 of your reports, which is 0.6% or so, which it's probably a good idea that you come up with a way to figure out what's going on. Because if you're, flying in, what are they, F-22, 35 Raptors, whatever they are,
Yeah.
I can't remember. But if you're zipping along at, Mach 2 or so, and you see something that is a physical object that pops in front of your plane, you don't know what it is, you damn well better try to find out what it is.
Quick, or
before you either hit it or you decide to blow something up that you might not have wanted to blow up.
Yeah. I would this is just my perspective. I would interpret that as more just after reading the full report and getting a sense of they're going more for trying to figure out what these unidentified objects are rather than, calling them aliens. I think they're actually trying to figure out, what are they? Because a lot of these we can figure out what they are. It just takes a little bit more digging. It takes someone because some of these clips that we've seen that have been released, they're very short clips. There's not much information with them. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, when they're released, then conspiracy theories, get a hold of them and they go to shit. But if you can take that video and start looking at flight paths and time of day and figure out, okay, well, this was a landing. I don't know what that would be called. This was a line of planes, commercial aircraft that were coming in on this route. They were coming this way. So this is likely commercial aircraft, something like that. They need somebody that'll sit at a desk like us with computers and just say, all right, there's a case. Let me see if I can figure out where this one came from. That's what my understanding of it is. But I may be way off because I'm trying to think logically.
All right. So let's move on to the next part. Available reporting, largely inconclusive. So starting on page 4. So my first comment on the first paragraph was limited data, inconsistent in reporting are key challenges. I put crap in, crap out. Which I did underline that it's good that they're going to have a standardized reporting mechanism that existed. No standardized reported mechanism existed until the Navy established it, as Kenny said before, in March 2019, and the Air Force adopted it in November 2020. But it remains limited to the U.S. government. And I know as we get through this later on, they talk about expanding that throughout all of the U.S. government and then moving it into like the FAA and civilian and commercial type reporting for commercial flights.
Right. I had basically the same idea you had. I put get shit, give shit.
Oh, there he goes.
Oh, there he goes.
He said too much. His internet has been shut down.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
he's back.
Did I shut? Oh,
No,
damn.
you locked
You're
up.
there.
Wow. Okay. I'm back. Nothing flickered. Okay.
You got censored. Don't try to say it whatever you said again.
Damn Men in Black.
Hit him with the neuralizer.
All right. I'm going to try again. For the first line, I have get shit, give shit. Basically the same thing you had, because it's telling you right off the bat. I mean, it's the subtitle is limited data leaves most UAP unexplained.
Right.
It's telling you right there, we don't have enough information. And I mean, that's goddamn, that's a fucking mantra I've been trying to put out there for years. Like, if you don't have enough information, you don't know.
But that goes both ways, though. It doesn't mean it doesn't. Well, it means for the believers and the skeptics, we don't know.
We don't know.
So for everybody, bashing on believers and bashing on skeptics, hey, everybody, settle the fuck down. We don't know.
We don't know.
I mean, that's the bottom line. Everybody go back to their side of the ring, settle down, and wait for more information. That's what it. ET's watching us.
Wait, I got a smoking guy too.
Nice. Oh,
But yeah, I mean that's. I guess it's just the overall. I'm overall disappointed with this report. I really am, and it's partly my fault because I was listening and I was waiting and I was not giving into the hype, but I was like a little excited. Something would come out, like one way or the other. But this is just policy shit, and it's boring.
well, Bob, I can only hope that our Space Force is led by Steve Carell.
That was a thought I had through reading this as well. I was kind of like, where is the Space Force mentioned in this? Because it kind of feels like that would be under their jurisdiction.
You would think.
They're not quite probably fully up and running, are they?
Should they be funded? If we're worried about unidentified aerial phenomena, shouldn't our Space Force be on the front line, literally?
Shouldn't they be?
Shouldn't they? Should they be?
I
envision more like Spaceballs initially.
I'm still waiting for my application to be approved. So,
all right.
Spaceballs, I'll definitely enlist. That'd be great.
All right. So the next part, they talk about the data period, 2004 to 2021, with most of it coming from the last 2 years.
Right.
All right. We'll go with Tim if he has any comments on that part.
Just to look above is exactly why I thought. I mean, it wasn't until they had something standardized, admittedly, until the end of 2000 or March 2019.
Mm-hmm.
I would limit it there as well. I mean, just to at least to have the ability to say I have consistency across the information that I gathered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And then they make the comment that most described UAP as objects that interrupted pre-planned training or other military activity. Well, to me, that's report bias because, well, who's reporting these and where's their pre-planned training or military activity?
Right.
The people who are reporting these, the military. So that they even acknowledge that a little further on.
Right.
Okay, so now this next box part, UAP collection challenges. They talk about sociocultural stigmas, and sensor limitation. Sensor limitation, I think we've already kind of touched on. Optical sensors have the benefit of providing some insight into relative size, shape, and structure. Radio frequency sensors provide more accurate velocity and range of information. I put on the second bullet point, the sensors mounted on U.S. military platforms are typically designed to fulfill specific missions. As a result, those sensors are not generally suited for identifying UAP. I put just like ghost hunting equipment.
Bam! Bam!
I'm
Yep.
like, yeah. So if it is, but it's interesting. They go on before and say if it is physical, but it's sensor equipment that's designed to detect, and let's face it, it's military. You're looking to detect other missiles, jet fighters, helicopters, I don't know, things that you're looking to engage with on a military basis. Why would it be designed to pick up a kite or a balloon or something else? Or, I mean, let's entertain the alien and the UFO believers. If it is something that's not of our technology, why would it pick that up? If it would even pick that up.
And not be picked up by independent sensors. You know, like why couldn't other sensors or other air traffic control pick it up? As for the other debris, like, because they do talk about, well, I'm hearing an echo of myself, but other debris, like airborne debris, like balloons and stuff like that, or birds, I mean, they do cause a safety issue. Gets sucked into an engine, hits a cockpit, that's an issue. That's a big issue. So I can understand they have some kind of forward object detection things, like an avoidance system, not necessarily identifying exactly what it is, but identifying an object in front of you. And you need to move. You need to turn, get out of the way. But not necessarily identifying it. And when I read this, that when it says the sensors are not generally suited for identifying this stuff, yes, I would agree. I mean, if there's something that's so far off and it's like a blip on the radar, basically, and you're not sure what it is, that's what it's a blip on the radar. They're not telling you exactly what kind of plane it is or what kind of object. It's something. And I've seen some of these weather balloons, some of these the balloons that they send up for tracking. And it's like a part of a hobbyist club that you put up these half inflated Mylar balloons that are highly reflective. So I could definitely see that becoming an issue.
And do bombing runs. And there were no fly zones when they were doing those things. And even our aircraft that had FAA approval and they coordinated with the military, they couldn't be in those no fly zones. So if these are pre-planned training or other military activity, I'm assuming they're probably no fly zones. So whatever's in these things, they sure as hell shouldn't be in there. I mean, if they're even a hot air balloon or whatever, a drone of some sort, they really shouldn't be in there. So if somebody's functioning within these things, that's obviously a big problem.
Well, again, I mean, does it mean that it has to be manned?
No, they could be drones.
Yeah, they could be drones. Again, they could
even
be
drones
balloons.
shouldn't be. I mean, they shouldn't be in there. They just shouldn't.
I agree, but it doesn't mean. Again, it comes back
interesting though. But drones, you hear about drones operating around major airports. They're getting pretty good at tracking those down, and they can identify that they're drones. So I find it hard to believe they can't identify that if these were normal drones, they couldn't identify them.
I guess it depends on what we're talking about, like what kind of observation. Are people actually seeing it and saying, "Oh shit, that's a drone. I've seen that before. That's a Mach 6 or something like that, Maverick." I don't know, and that's. I think we are getting deep into the conversation.
Yeah,
deep into the topic, much deeper than this policy report is getting into.
All right, so Tim, got anything before I move on to the next point?
I mean, So what about just false reports from the staff themselves? I mean, that could be a possibility too, or just I don't know what the word is. John would probably have a good idea. Not misinformation. If something else is going on and you just want to like not, there's a reason not to have a test or a reason to do, I don't know. You could put out into the public, why we couldn't do this test or why you didn't see this is because we picked up some strange flying object and we couldn't identify it. So we didn't do our test today. I mean, the real reason might be someone was hungover and couldn't do the flight, but they couldn't. They don't want to say that. But you could imagine the latch on to what people would do and forget about ever investigating anything else that could possibly be if you throw out that kind of red herring for people to look at. So I kind of think, the UFOs or the UAPs could be a potentially very well used misinformation weapon to keep people from looking deeper, because they actually want UAPs, they want UFOs, they want strange occurrences. But maybe someone just forgot to fill up the plane that day, and maybe the guy or the person driving the truck for the fuel wrecked. They just don't want to report that. So who knows?
Well, that gets in not wanting to report things. The other part of that box was the socio-cultural stigmas, which this was interesting. This is, I think, a legit problem. Narratives from aviators in the operational community and analysts from the military and intelligence community describe disparagement associated with observing UAP, reporting it, or attempting to discuss it with colleagues. Although the effects of these stigmas have lessened as senior members of the scientific, policy, military, and intelligence communities engage on the topic seriously in public, reputational risk may keep many observers silent, complicating the scientific pursuit of the topic. So I put a question here. Who is to blame for that? Because that's a problem. If we're saying that this could be a potential flight risk, safety issue, and potentially a national security risk, and the fact that people might not want to report this because of the blowback or the disparagement or the reputational risk they face because there's such a stigma with UFOs, who do we blame for that? Is it the UFO community, believers that keep pushing the alien? Is it the skeptical community that says UFOs are a bunch of crap and it's a waste of time and it's a bunch of idiots who waste time on this and it's nothing to them? Who's to blame for this? Because this is a big problem I see.
I wonder if it's not a total solution, but I think maybe part of the problem is personal bias. Because for some of the reasons you mentioned, like if maybe they're afraid of getting ridiculed because, all right, you know what, I saw this, I'm not sure what it is. But then personal belief comes into it, where if a pilot sees something and has that belief in UFOs, like we're talking diehard belief, like anything's a UFO, and I mean alien UFO, not just unidentified. If they see it, and they determine based on their beliefs that it might be an alien spacecraft, maybe they don't want to say it. Maybe they don't want to bring it up. Is that part of the problem? I don't know, because if they're not reported, we don't know who's not reporting them, and we can't ask them why they didn't report it. Like that's a vicious cycle there, because it's all up in the air. We have no idea. We don't know who's not talking and why they're not talking. So I don't really know where to go with there. with
paragraph was extremely interesting to me. That's probably the best paragraph in this whole thing that I liked. I didn't look it up, but I should have. I forget. I don't know what it's called. It's something like the Godfather effect. So like I deal with stuff like this in my daytime job, where eliminating certain parts of information because you're fearful of some type of retaliation or being made fun of or ridiculed or belittled, or your sanity question, or even your abilities or question is interesting. But when you ask, like, my thought was like, where did this start? Like that was my question too, Dave. Like, why would, exactly what you said, like, why would, if you're flying, if something flew up next to you and did a couple circles around your jet and then zipped off, like, why would you not report that?
Right.
Like, that would be of utmost importance, I think, and I think that would be welcomed. So I don't know. It's interesting to me, but I don't know. But there's something, it's along the lines of something like a Godfather effect. And I think that is what it's called, but it's looking at mobsters in their real life. They behaved differently in their organizations than they did after certain movies. And I think it was the movie Godfather. So after the movie Godfather came out, which portrayed them in a certain way, it was so badass and cool that actually mobsters started to imitate the movie. So I can't remember if that was the movie. So I'm sorry if I get that wrong, but it's just this effect of notoriety, Hollywood, when that portrayal is like that. So I don't know if there was a time that it was okay to report this, but in movies, in documentation, in books, 40s, 50s, when people would say, I can remember old movies where they would see something, they would be like, "Don't report that, Steve. You're gonna lose your pilot's license. They're going to think you're crazy." Was that reality, or was that just a plot of some of the fiction writing at the time that would fit the story? And then that bled into the reality of the military pilots themselves, or the military reporters. And I know that's really broad and there's no real answer to that, but with that kind of went with me. I wonder which came first. I wonder, if it always had been, and the writing, the science fiction writing kind of caught on to that and used it in their story, if the science fiction started that in the writings and then it caught on in reality.
Yeah. You say there was a comment here by John said, "I don't think it is. Look at all the sales and shows and shit of claims of aliens. It's a big market. Granted, I don't think it's like it once was." Yeah, it's a big market, but I still think within the professional and scientific community, it's kind of still has a stigma of, because there's been this association or branding, if you will, that UFOs mean aliens. And people that report them, I guess they look at it and go, yeah, whatever. It's just something you couldn't identify. And I don't know. I think people still probably are a little hesitant to report. It's probably not, I don't know. I mean, I haven't been in the military, but I can imagine it might not look too good if you're zipping around up above and something gets close to your plane and you can't identify it. I mean, they send planes out to identify things that pop up on radar that are, whatever, foreign intrusions into U.S. airspace, or to get close to them.
I wonder if it's if we look on the flip side of this, that if they do have some kind of sighting where something, it's small enough, but it gets close enough and passes by where they can identify it, because at the speeds it's blurred, so it doesn't show up on radar. There is no supporting evidence for their story, yet they saw something. I could see someone being hesitant in reporting that. Like, even though, oh, well, I did see something, and they might have that internal struggle, this is a safety issue. I should say something, but do I want to get that stigma? Do I want other people saying, "Oh, you saw a UFO, you saw aliens," and then I could see their office or their cockpit starting to be decorated with aliens and shit, because people just dropping off shit. So I get it. I understand that. It's still not right. If it's because bottom line, take away all your X-File alien stuff. it's a safety issue. You report it.
Yeah. So Carol makes a good point. This report helps to change the culture. Military wants to know if these are enemy aircraft, need the pilots, et cetera, take seriously in that perspective. That's a good point. If this report can change that culture and encourage and tell them, yeah, we acknowledge that there's things that are up there that are being picked up on multiple systems. There's one part of this they talk about near misses, whatever a near miss is, and how they define that. Yeah, there is a threat to safety, minimally a threat to safety. Doctor Who's TARDIS, that's floating around up there. You don't want to hit that thing. You could probably land a plane in there. It's pretty spacious inside.
Bigger on the inside.
So yeah, it's interesting because that's definitely something that you see not only in the UAP UFO but in the parapsychology arena as well. That while there are university funded parapsychology positions in some universities, most students are ridiculed and there's still a stigma about going into the field. Basically, it's don't go into that or you're going to be the laughing stock.
Right.
Which, again, getting back to all the TV shows and the believers and the bashing on, rightfully so, I'll say some of the bashing on of the TV shows and what goes on there doesn't help the professional community of what people are really trying to do. So, all right. So that's it. You guys, you want to keep going? We probably have about 2.5 pages left. Do you want to take a break or you just want to trudge through it?
I'm good either way.
Yeah, I'm good either way. I could fill up.
All right. Well, why don't we take our break since we haven't done that in a while, and we will come back and finish up the last 2.5 pages. Ready, set, go. And we're back.
Yes.
All right. So let's see if we have any quick comments here before we continue on.
Yeah, Bob needs to start on season 9 of Doctor Who.
Yeah,
and
we won't.
give it a little bit, and you'll be hooked. You could
Right,
go all the way back to the beginning, but the beginning's so old, it takes a little bit different. It's a different way of thinking. But if you want to start on season 9, the Ninth Doctor, and then, the Ninth Doctor, then go forward. You'll be good. You'll be in.
So we won't vicar him yet for not seeing Doctor Who. All right, good.
Is
Rob
that a thing?
Palmer.
Because I don't watch that shit.
Hey, Rob. We should eject Kenny from the show, I guess. Anyway.
Did you just say you didn't watch Doctor Who?
I don't watch Doctor Who at all.
That's okay. I don't really watch it either. I watched the old one from the freaking 70s and 80s, but
I used to watch
I haven't watched the new ones. I
used to watch it just because I didn't know really what it was, and it was the only sci-fi thing on at that time slot, so I watched it.
So you said who? And they're like, yeah, Doctor Who. Who? Doctor Who. All right.
Who?
Rob Palmer, Dunning's 2-part Skeptoid was fantastic at dissecting what's really going on here. A small cadre of UFO fans got their hooks in government and media and made this a thing. Made the report a thing, or made the government do something a thing, because
it was more stretched out. I listened to both episodes, and it goes back to where these organizations started and how they kind of piggybacked off of each other, with almost the same people behind the scenes running it and funding it. So it's an interesting series. It's a 2-part series. They're only about 15 minutes each. So definitely it's worth listening to.
Okay. Because I was going to say, clearly the government's taken UAPs or UFOs as a potential interest or threat with the different projects from 47 and 48, Sign, Grudge, Blue Book, and then the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification, followed by the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, and the fact that they say that, if there are UAPs, they clearly pose a safety of flight issue, if not a national security risk. So it's not like they're saying that there aren't unidentified aerial phenomena up there. Now, what they are, they don't know.
That's a different story. And I think that's
a different story. They're not saying they're aliens, but they're obvious. The military is looking, and the government is looking at this saying, yeah, there's stuff up there that we're picking up on sensors, or we're seeing, or we're having near misses. We just don't know what it is. But they're not saying they're aliens.
Without getting too deep into it, because we're taking this policy report like really deep, but I think it's some of the people and how they interpret it, because I do think that some of the people involved in these organizations, top and along, really take it and go the alien route with it, rather than just it's unidentified. And, working from that, I think there's a lot of biases and stuff. But, that, again, we're going down a rabbit hole that this report really doesn't go down.
We go down. It's possible to go down a rabbit hole that you dig yourself.
Yes.
I mean, we do that. Goes. Another shovel. Another shovel.
Help. Anything you hire this guy just because of the hairdo.
Yep. This picture reminds me. Oh my God, who is that guy?
This guy right here.
Oh, Dave. That is awesome. I should have used his picture. Son of a gun.
That's good.
Bob will see himself out now.
Damn right you will. Get out, Bob.
That was fantastic.
Oh, man.
All right. So moving on to page 5, which...
5?
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Page 5.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, shit. Okay.
We're getting there. All right. So let's see what I had. Sample bias. I think we already talked about that. The clustering around U.S. training and testing ground. But obviously they're going to be biased around there because of, yes, that's who's collecting this and where the report's coming from.
Right.
Then I had a comment here, and a handful of UAP appear to demonstrate advanced technology. I wish, as much as they gave a few definitions of the acronyms and definition of key terms, I wish they would have described and defined advanced technology, because my question I wrote here is, how advanced?
Yeah.
What do you mean by advanced?
How did you determine that? Like what?
I mean, 18 out of the 18 incidents of the described 21, observers reported unusual UAP movement patterns or flight characteristics. Remain stationary in winds aloft. Well, can a helicopter do that? Move against the wind? Well, don't we have aircraft that can move against the wind?
Right.
Maneuver abruptly?
We can do that.
Move at
Sailboat
considerable
against the wind.
speed without discernible means of propulsion. Okay, well, that one might be interesting.
Like what's where does that one go? Out of all of that, out of everything.
So here's an interesting.
the one.
Bob says every one of those are by visual report only. How do you know that, Rob? Because I mean, they don't. Is there somewhere where we can actually see the case studies, because they don't list them here? Where are they?
And that's the big problem with this.
Yeah, but he's
report.
saying every one of those are visual report only. Where is that information? That's what we're trying to figure out, is where can we read these?
Unless we're going off of the videos that have been released already.
Well, maybe it's in 18 of the incidents out of the 21. Oh, observers reported unusual. Okay.
There's nothing in the report. I guess he says
Well,
in
actually,
the report.
I mean, if we do take it that way, like you said, Tim, if it says observers, it's just not saying sensors. There's no sensor report mentioned here. It's saying observers.
So it's only the observers. Okay, but 8 observers reported. Okay, so they only reported.
Yeah.
But then they say in a small number of the cases, military aircraft systems processed radio frequency energy. So now they're saying it's not just observation.
Or is this in addition to?
In addition to.
In 18 incidents. So they're talking about 18 incidents observers reported.
Okay.
And now they're moving on.
Yeah, in a small number of cases, military. Okay, I got it.
So that's
this is so. Yeah, that's the problem. This is so general and broad. It would be nice to have the case specifics,
right?
As Kenny said in the beginning. Oh boy. Okay.
My big disappointment with this report.
Okay. All right. Let's see. The next paragraph, additional rigorous analysis are needed by multiple teams or groups of technical experts to determine the nature and validity of these data. We are conducting further analysis to determine if breakthrough technologies were demonstrated. So basically they're saying holds a small amount of data that appear to show UAP demonstrating acceleration or a degree of signature management. So I guess what they're saying is that you can't conclude anything from what they've seen so far.
That's right.
Right.
That's a subtle build. We need more money to check into this.
I mean, I am available for hire. I will look into each of these cases and determine what's going on. I'm pretty good at solving these kind of mysteries. So, Mick West would probably be much better.
We talked about this multiple times, but that would hold true for pretty much any researcher at any university too.
I mean, really,
hey, I came up with a research idea. I haven't solved it yet. I need more money. I've never met a researcher who doesn't want more money.
That last sentence is a nice carrot for more funding.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, further analysis to determine if breakthrough technologies were demonstrated. I'm sure if, what's his name from, Bigelow, he's probably looking to reverse engineer these UFOs on the Skinwalker Ranch. He's got billions. He can take care of it himself. Oh, here we go. It's all Harry Reid's fault. Oh, come on. Poor Harry. Poor Harry Reid. All right. So let's see. UAP probably lack a single explanation.
No shit. Seriously.
I'm going to make that. That's one of my. That's going to be one of the sound effects. Is you going that you had the right emphasis and the emotion. I'm so used to you doing.
I don't know
shit.
What other conclusion can you come up with? Of course, it doesn't have one explanation. You jackass.
And I love how just above that they say only one was totally explainable out of the 144.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So one of them, one out of the 144, so 0.6%.
That's my resume. Like, look, the one you reported on, I reported on it. So give me a job. 22 million. I'll spend it.
So we have airborne. I love the category. Airborne clutter.
Yes.
Natural atmospheric phenomena, USG or industry developmental programs, foreign adversary systems, or other. Which, once they've classified, let's say 90% in the first 4 categories, then we can come back and ask for more money to determine what the other are.
Wow. And yes, we may require additional scientific knowledge to. I love that. The other case is just this is one that caught my attention, because when they say, although most of the UAP described in our data set probably remain unidentified due to limited data or challenges to collect, processing, or analysis, which is, I think, pretty much the entire reason. But it goes on to say, we may require additional scientific knowledge to successfully collect on, analyze, or characterize some of them. So I get it. It's basically saying we're pretty sure, but we're not sure. We have to wait until we can get more funding so we can get more technology and people, and therefore send money. That's what I see.
The biggest message here is they don't know, except for one out of the 144. They don't know what any of them are. That's the bottom line. They don't know. There's no conclusion on any of it.
Mm-hmm. All right,
moving on. So the next part, ongoing airspace concerns. The UAPTF has 11 reports of documented instances in which pilots reported near misses with a UAP. Does anybody know what a near miss, how close a near miss would be considered?
Near. Just, I have.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
You are welcome, Dave with the alien hat. Happy to be of help.
Oh, there it is.
There it
The
is.
finger.
Yeah, it would be nice if they would define that. What's near? Like, is it Tom Cruise upside down within 10 feet of the UAP near, giving the guy the finger and taking a picture, or what's near? Because is
it like a mile away?
If you can see what it is within, let's say, 100 feet, that's a big difference.
Right.
I think the comedian Gallagher did a thing where, with the English language and the near miss, and he thinks it's better phrased a near hit, because a near miss would mean you hit.
But I recall somewhere, like Chicago O'Hare, they said they had a near miss, but the 2 planes were still like a quarter of a mile away.
Yeah.
Which, I'm sure that would still be a near miss, but okay, is that near enough to look and go, okay, I can tell exactly what that is, especially if it's a small little Tic Tac flying through the air at 500 miles an hour.
And I always call issue to the documented cases, because again, like if I go in and write a report and say, hey, I observed another aircraft, a half a mile away, that's a documented case. As long as you write it down, it's documented.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of gives this emphasis. It gives this false emphasis of, well, it's documented. And I can't tell you how many times, aside from the UFO stuff, but with all the other stuff that we investigate, when someone tells me it's been documented, it's like that phrase alone is meant to give credibility to the claim. Like, oh, it's documented. Oh, well, you know what? I just wrote you're a jackass, so it's documented. So, all right, does that make it, any better? Any more better?
All right.
Because I wrote it down.
Kenny's face. Jim Clausen, the definition of a near miss is 2 planes flying less than 500 feet apart. Under FAA guidelines, planes are required to remain 3 miles apart horizontally and 1,000 feet apart vertically. Near-miss reports are voluntarily made by pilots and are based on a pilot's perception of how close planes get to each other.
Ooh,
Okay.
perception. That's
But-
important.
A
Yeah.
near miss is 2 planes flying less than 500 feet apart. Okay, that would be pretty close then.
3 miles apart horizontally. Wait, under
That's
a
a
plane
near-
are required to remain 3 miles apart and 1,000 feet apart vertically. All right, so if it's the pilot's perception, which I'm sorry, I don't care how much of a trained observer you are, you're not going to judge distance accurately.
I don't know. I would think if so much experience, you'd get pretty good with it after a while.
Unless you get out there with a measuring tape, I don't think you're going to be able to tell the difference between 500 feet and 700 feet, or what have you. It's just, I don't see it happening, especially when you have no reference points. You're in the sky. It's not like you can say, well, it's a couple blocks away. It's nothing but space, nothing but air, between you guys. So big issue with that. And I'm wondering what these near misses were. Like, again, because it doesn't go into details, like, are we talking, is it another plane, another aircraft, or is it a balloon or a bird or something like that flew past the cockpit?
I'll give Carol credit here for a laugh. As the Blue Angels, if they can judge distances. I hope so.
I hope so. I've seen them.
There'd be a lot less of them.
I got some good pictures of them when they flew over Philly last year.
Okay,
Damn.
Good point by Rob. Yeah, and many are at night. I mean, hell, driving at night.
Yeah.
I mean, even driving at night distances are. Ask me how far cars are at night versus daytime. I would venture to guess my distance judgments in daytime are going to be a hell of a lot better than they are at nighttime.
And think about that. I mean, how long have the three of us been driving?
I'm not going to tell you how long,
on the
but it's
road.
been a while.
Long time.
But consider that. Like, if there's a car in front of you, do you think you can accurately, within maybe 10 feet, 20 feet, judge how far away that vehicle is? If it's
typically the way I do it, though, is I see them pass something and then I start doing the counting. Then I see when I pass it. So I'm doing a calculation. I'm not just trying to make a guess. I'm actually doing a calculation.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God, Dave. I started to say it and I was like, no one's going to understand if I say that.
So it might be a little
on a
more
trip-
accurate than some.
If I'm on a trip and I'm bored, I do that and then try to do the math just to see, like, I just because it's interesting. Like, I'm going 75. The car, you pick a spot, 1,002, 1,003, then you're like, okay, I can't do the math, but we're okay.
But again, that comes down to perspective as well, because if you're maybe a mile, let's just say, put it out there, you're a mile away from someone. Are you sure that they're actually passing that object?
True.
That you're basing it on, or does it just look like it? So there's so many variables that we have no control over. When
I just
we're
get out my
talking about
rangefinder for hunting. That works.
that. There you go. I get my laser guided sights out, and
All right, I think we beat
This would be a fun test.
I think we've beat the near miss to death here. So
okay. Moving on.
Moving on. Here we go. Explaining UAP will require analytic collection and resource investment. This was actually
Fun to me.
one of my favorite parts of this report, because they talk about to me, it's a long-term goal. It's not over yet. And they're looking at a process and a structure that's needed in order to move this forward. So I thought it was a really nice addition. Basically, yeah, we know they're going for more money, but at least they have a plan. They spell out a little bit what is needed to move forward and hopefully get to the bottom of this.
Right. And that's cool. I think it's great as long as they're like, hey, we're really going to be serious about this, and it's more directed to safety concern. Nerds. Shut up, Donna.
I don't.
as long as it's directed to safety and identification of potential foreign threats. And it's not like, let's find some aliens. I mean, if that's a result, like a side result, then by all means, it's really cool. I'm not knocking it, but that's probably not going to be our main concern. Our main concern is safety and foreign entities. So,
Yeah,
like other countries and stuff like that, not aliens.
they're not looking at the aliens. They're basically looking at, is it a threat, and is it a safety issue? Is it a national security risk? And does China or Russia or other
Right.
foreign adversaries, do they have something more advanced for us, and how can we counter it? That's what they're looking for. And I do like how they're going to take the data, and once they collect enough of it, they want to run it through artificial intelligence and machine learning. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because they'll be able to pick up
interesting.
patterns and different types of trends that obviously we wouldn't be capable, or we'd be capable of it, take a lot longer, or might be able to find things we can't. So I thought that was pretty good. I do like how they're also looking to expand it into the FAA side, taking data, and then also looking at some other data in the almost like a retrospective analysis under expanded collection, increased collection of UAP cluster areas when U.S. forces are not present, as a way to baseline standard UAP activity and mitigate the collection bias in the data set.
Yeah. Shit. I lost my notes. Where am I?
That's
Tim,
okay.
what do you got?
Tim.
It took
Take
me a while
over,
to get-
Tim.
I had to
Save me, Tim.
I got excited by a test idea, and I wrote down notes that we could do some testing on distance and eyewitness, and I got lost. So I just caught back up. But I want to do a test for people. So my understanding, we are at where they talk about doing data collection outside of.
Yeah,
Okay,
page
on that
7.
one, I remember seeing some type of, I don't know how valid it is or accurate it is, but they highlighted over a map of the world where reports of UFOs, or I guess AUPs now, and they are collectively very strong in the United States and around Britain, very heavy, but also map other places where military sites are.
Mm-hmm.
So when I read that, it reminded me of that, and I thought it would be very interesting to see how that would go. So outside of any military or flight activity or airport activity, I guess, to look at the differences.
Mm-hmm.
I think one potential problem, and I think it's already a problem, is that to go outside of your military bases, because this is the main collection point, military reports. These are people in the military that are reporting it. But if you're going outside of that, now you're going into civilian law enforcement, you're going into civilian reports. So, because if you're going to go into areas and try to track data for non-military areas, obviously you don't have any military in that area. So you're going off of civilian reports. Now you're going to take what?
So what? Civilian pilots aren't? Is that?
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm just saying I'm not actually going with civilian pilots. I'm going with civilians in general.
They weren't saying that, though. They were saying FAA.
Okay. Well, this is the first lines. It said looking for novel ways to increase collection.
Receiving data from FAA.
Our one proposal is to go for that kind of stuff, but I'm just wondering, like, if they're going to go into civilian reports, because if you have a FAA, you have civilian pilots. They're on specific routes. Mm-hmm. So, okay, we expand into civilian commercial aircraft routes.
Okay.
Does that cover everywhere? You know, how long before we go into civilian? I'm not knocking it. I probably am, but it's more so like I don't know. I guess when does it stop? Are we going to take every civilian report? Because I have books full of that on my shelves right now. But I don't know about the validity of these reports. Like, again, a lot of these reports are simply anecdotal reports. And I know we've had that debate about anecdotal stuff, but, you know, if someone sees a light in the sky, that's a report.
Well, I guess you could, if you standardize the data collection, you could assign a grading system to the data and then determine how much you want to put weight on certain types of reports. I mean, there's ways you can collect it. It's probably better to collect it and have it than not have it at all, then decide what to do with it.
Right. I mean, getting it from
standardized, who knows? Maybe you find something. Maybe you find maybe it comes in useful. Maybe you have a civilian pilot in his little 2-seater Cessna that sees something that backs up the report of a commercial airliner, followed by something that was picked up air traffic control on a radar. Then you can look at it from that vantage point that you have, 3 different things that kind of overlap. While the civilian 2-seater Cessna guy, in and of itself, seeing something wouldn't mean much. But then if you have another report and then a hit on a radar, then it maybe means a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah. I guess it comes down to, like, the people that are involved in this and that are getting funded to do this as their job have much more time to devote to this than the 3 of us that are doing this. We're basically researching this over the last day or so, and then, talking about it over a 2-hour show. But I don't know where this is going to go. I really don't know where this is going to go. If it's going to go anywhere beneficial, I think it will, if they stick to the safety and foreign adversary objectives, identifying something like that. I think it would progress to something beneficial. But if they let certain people involved, and again, I'm going to let my biases come in, and my people I don't like have influence, then I think it might go a little kooky. But hopefully, based on this policy report, it looks like they're trying to steer it in the safety and foreign adversary direction.
That's what I took from it. I mean, it looks like Rob might disagree. These people have a lifetime employment on our dime. There's a lot of government employees that do. And yes, they want to find aliens they believe in, trans-dimensional aliens who are also skinwalkers.
Oh my. I cannot watch that show.
That must have been hidden in the classified annexed version of this report.
All right, yeah. Oh, Skinwalkers. I can't fucking watch that show. I can't.
I've tried.
I can't. I tried. I get like 2 minutes in and I'm like, nope, click, nope. I'll try again. 2 minutes, 37 seconds in. Nope. I can't watch it. No. All right. So are we at the end?
I think that's the last of the entire 9 pages, unless you want to talk about the appendix, which is basically the terms and then the actual what Congress directed the Director of National Intelligence to do in the report, but we don't need to go into that since we already went through it.
That's good. File that away. All right.
So, closing thoughts. I'm not gonna do mine, but I'm gonna tell you, I'm just gonna go with my 11 quick takeaways from this. But I will let Tim go first.
Yes.
That was a lackluster read. It was definitely, it felt like reading something from when I used to work for the state government. It was, I thoroughly enjoyed the part about the being outcast or ridiculed for reports, which is just bewildering to me. But I found that interesting just because it was more social and psychological issues. But other than that, when I saw that report, I actually hadn't read that report. It didn't really come across my radar as something very interesting to me. But when you shared that, I kind of thought, wow, I really should have read this. I'm really excited to read this. And then I read it and I was like, well, shit, let me reread it again because I obviously missed something. And I read it again and I was like, okay, I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just basically, I guess, the standard, we see things, but we don't know what they are. So give us more money and we'll have more research opportunities to find out what they are. I mean, that was kind of my takeaway with it.
All right, Kenny?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I agree with Tim. There was a lot of hype surrounding this report, and I saw it from both sides. I saw, and again, yeah, I'm a total skeptic, but I saw it from both sides where the true believers were like, "This is it. We're gonna finally have validation, and fuck all of you people. We're finally going to get what we need." And then the cynical side was like, nope, they're going to come out and say nothing exists and fuck you. We're going to get what we need. So I was kind of expecting something. This was like a build up to a Avengers Endgame. Like I was expecting, I was like, this is going to be a great report. I can't wait to read this. And I read it and I was like, this blows. This sucks monkey balls. Really, it was horrible. It was just basic policy. It was basic policy from a department that was saying, hey, we took a look. We don't know. Give us more money so we can keep doing what we're doing. And whether that's good or bad, it's not my role to say whether it is or not. It really isn't, because I don't have enough information. I only have this report, which sucks. I don't have all the cases in front of me that I can look at and study all the information. So I don't know if it's worthwhile. So I was let down. I was highly let down. And the terminology that we've pointed out, like Dave, you pointed out, like there's a lot of maybe or could be in this. And that kind of dialogue really sticks out. And it's like, all right, you really don't know what you're doing here, but you still want to keep looking into it, which, I mean, I can relate to. Okay, but is it worth it? I don't know. Is this report anything special? No, it's not. It was just a boring read, honestly. It was a boring read. The only thing that made it exciting was the nerd factor. Thank you, Donna. That we could go through it and start picking apart. That's the only thing that was exciting about this. And that's really all I can say about it. I don't expect anything more from this. If anything, they might identify or start identifying some things if they're serious. I don't know if they are. I really don't know if they are. I don't have enough information to make that determination. So,
I can remember the countdowns on different UFO Facebook pages, and it had clocks running on the release of this report.
Oh my God!
And for some reason, it just never really. That hype alone was just. It was not worth it. I knew better to get into it.
This was this generation's Geraldo Rivera opening Al Capone's vault.
I watched that on TV.
I did too. I was so disappointed. Such a letdown.
Off to Fox News for you, Geraldo.
Yeah. So that's my final answer on that. I'm clicking out.
Okay, so I took off two of my key takeaways because we've talked about them. Nobody wants to hear them again. But 9 key takeaways: limited data set, limited high quality data. Number 2, data continues to be collected and analyzed. 3, most UAP represent physical objects, at least according to this report. 80 out of the 144 registered on multiple sensors. 4, clearly pose a safety of flight issue, which, yeah, I think everybody would agree. If there's something up there they can't identify, it could be a safety of flight issue. 5, the socio-cultural stigmas result in observing, reporting, and discussing, and really preventing people from doing that. That is a problem that needs to be corrected, and hopefully that will this report will help maybe correct part of that so they can have an open discussion about that, especially if there's a safety of flight issue. So that's 5. 6, lack data. They say part of foreign collection program or major technological advancement by political adversaries. The data's not there. Next one, they're going to expand, or they'd like to expand with additional funding, standardized reporting, consolidate data, more analysis, expand within and outside government, analyze other clusters, use artificial intelligence. And then they could only explain the one instance, 1 out of 144.69%. That tells me that you either, as I think we've said, somebody said, you didn't spend a lot of time on this, or you didn't really care, or as I said before, you woke up and said, oh shit, that's due tomorrow. That's really, you had those 5 categories and you really couldn't put them in any bin besides we don't know, 1 out of 144. Okay. And then the one thing that will keep the UFO alien enthusiasts going is the classified annex that was not part of this. So that will keep people going, but I would also temper that with the thought of that there may be classified information that has national security implications that they're looking to see if a foreign adversary has something that we don't, or it could be something that we are working on that's advanced technology that we don't want somebody else to know about.
Right.
So it doesn't mean that it's Kenny's little ET that is probably going to do some really weird stuff with Kenny later once we get off the air. So that's it. I like you, Kenny and Tim. I was, I didn't think there was going to be much to it. The Condon report resulted in hundreds, if not shy of or just over 1,000 pages of work, and you can read the cases, you can read the detail. This was a letdown, but looking at when the bill was authorized and when the report was published, they didn't have a lot of time. And I think one of the comments, and I don't know if it was John or Bob, that somebody, if I can find it, I'll put it up here again, but they basically said that the military looked at it and said, fuck, Congress wants a report. We got to put a report together. And they put a report together. So anyway, I do think if they do continue with this, the ideas they laid out, kind of almost like a business strategic plan, it's a good thing. And if they want to do it right, yes, not all of us agree about continuing to give the government money to do things, but if you want to do it right, you're going to have to throw money at it and standardize it and do things a certain way. So that's it. All right. What do we all got going on? We'll go with Tim first. Tim and Dave. I'm going to say nothing much from my end. Tim, what do you got?
I got this show coming up next Saturday that I'm with 2 really good friends of mine. I don't know if you heard it, 3 Tortured Souls. You guys are invited to watch it.
Oh, thank you.
Other than that, nothing.
I'm the one with the laundry list of shit there.
You're the man. You're the busy man.
So tomorrow, if you're interested, tomorrow at 11 a.m., I will be doing I'm taking part in a pre-recorded lecture. It's a 20-minute lecture that I did. I pre-recorded it just because that's the way they were doing things for AIPT, the website. I think the link's on my site, I am Kenny Biddle. But I'm doing a presentation that compares. This is actually fun for the nerds out there. It compares Force ghosts from Star Wars and like other movie ghosts to real ghost in air quotes.
Oh.
It builds upon an article that I wrote for that website, which they go by AIPT, but I still call them Adventures in Poor Taste because that's the website. But after that, so that goes from 11 a.m. Eastern time to 11:20-ish. And then afterwards, I'll be doing a live Q&A for about 10, 15 minutes or something like that. So I'll be there for that. And then tomorrow night, I will be a guest. Let's see, at 9 o'clock, I'm going to be a guest on a podcast called Paranormal Gateway, which is, I believe, on Paratalk Radio. So I'll be talking with them. I don't know what we're talking about, but mostly like TikTok videos that I debunk. So all I know is that they downloaded a whole bunch of videos that I've recreated and explained. So we're going to be talking about that.
Hey, Dave, you want to join in on that and
harass me?
Fanboy over the celebrity?
I think so.
I
All
hate
right,
bitches so much. I will say that on July 30th, on my Skeptical Help Bar episode, I'm going to have Aaron Galloway, which we all saw. He did a presentation on biases. He's going to come on the show. He's going to talk about biases and how they affect paranormal investigators, ghost hunters, and stuff like that. So we're going to have a nice conversation about that. And then the next big thing I have is Gettysburg, August 20th, 22nd. I'll be for the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. It benefits Pennsylvania Wounded Warriors and kids with cancer. A lot of good charities. I'll be in a dunk tank, so you can come out and try to dunk a skeptic, but, ghost hunters suck at pitching, so, you waste your money if you want to.
Trash talking starts already.
All you bitches can't throw a fucking ball.
Are you saying ghost hunters have trouble hitting the mark?
Yes. With everything. So, and then the last thing is September 25th. I'll be at the Para-Unity Conference in Woodbridge, New Jersey. I'll be set up there. And that's probably about, yes, Bob, I do need Bob's announcements. Bob unofficially does my announcements for my show on Friday nights. So, but that's all I have for now. All right.
Okay, well, that's it. Well, thanks, everybody. Thanks, Tim, Kenny. That was, as always, a fun discussion. I do stand by our opening comment that I think we took more notes, wrote more notes on the report than there were actually words in the actual report. So good job. But, we'll be back next week, barring any unforeseen circumstances. But I'm sure that the psychic ability in each of us, which is close to that of a rock, would not make that happen. So anyway, everybody have a good weekend. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. And let's see if I can get this right compared to what Tim usually does. You ready?
No pressure.
No pressure. No pressure. See you next week.
Don't for chance, don't for chance, don't for chance. Aliens are real, those what they need. Aliens are real, Bigfoot is real. Don't question me, Dave is about, Dave is out, Dave is about. Those that are real, I'm on TV. Don't for chance, don't for chance, don't for chance, don't for chance. And what you say, oh, you'll get to better.